The DA, now we say it, executive mayors, mayors of respective municipalities, councillors, ambassadors who are present here, and many VIP guests, fellow South Africans, and the most important people in all of that are the activists who are here today. Yeah. Democrats, dumelang, le kae? Ke a dumedisa bagaetsho ke a re ke a itumela ke le fano mo lapeng mo. Ga o le mo Gauteng o mo lapeng. You know, I'm reminded of one of my favorite albums of all time. Is by Miriam Makeba in her album Promise. Those of you who are old enough will know Promise. In there, Miriam Makeba includes a song, Ara Gauteng Kutsanyana Tsaka di Shwetse teng. But when I look out here, I see South Africans who say, whilst that might have been the reality of the generation of people like Miriam Makeba, we are here to rewrite history and create a South Africa that is prosperous for all. Esanna pleke mo kutsanyana tsaka di shwelang teng, enne pleke mo bana ba rona ba kra mmereko. Amandla. I want to say this to you, Democrats. I'm so inspired to be here today. Because in fact, the energy in this place, the atmosphere in this place tells me it tells me that in fact, your determination is clear. Your objectives have never been more clear. That Gauteng must become blue come 2019. It is indeed, fellow Democrats, a time for a new beginning, a beginning for Gauteng, Amandla, a beginning for the new South Africa that we stand for. And jaka se fela sele si bua sere, koloi ena, haiduma. Democrats, last week was a significant week for the Democratic Alliance. We celebrated the 100th birthday of Helen Suzman. As an anti-apartheid activist and human rights activist, a former member of parliament here from Gauteng, and a member of the Progressive Party, she made a towering contribution to both our country and our party. And so I want to say we stand on her immense shoulders today as we take the way forward to the fight for a better South Africa for all. You see, to achieve this simple goal that she articulated so beautifully in her own words, which was to simply say, we fight for simple justice, for equal opportunities, and for human rights for all the people of South Africa. Her legacy indeed lives on in all of us. Democrats, we should never lose sight of the ethos of her relentless focusing on what is right, and in fact her attitude in never giving up. No matter how tough it was, no matter how difficult it was, she knew that one day South Africa will be free, and even while it was lonely, she continued her task. And I want to say to the activists, I can recall your stories that you tell me of intimidation in communities when people attack our activists. I want you to draw inspiration from Helen Suzman that you must continue the fight, for freedom is never won. It ought to be fought for in every generation, and you're a generation that is fighting for that freedom. Democrats, the most important lesson we must learn from Helen Suzman is what it means to be a public servant. For her being a member of parliament meant one thing and one thing alone. It gave her a chance to speak for those who didn't have a voice, for those whose voice could never be heard. She didn't go to parliament to fight for people who looked like her, who spoke like her, who enjoyed the freedoms that she enjoyed. In fact, she didn't even just speak for the people of Gauteng. She spoke for the people of South Africa. She spoke for the vulnerable. She spoke for the oppressed. That's what I want to talk to you about today. Because for people like Helen Suzman, she understood that even while she is free, in fact, in her own words, she would say, even while I am free and you are not, I will continue to fight for your freedom. And this is the example we must all take.
Baba buang jaka rona re tlo go lwanela maAfrika borwa a bokamoso ba bone bo tserweng ba ba boelang ko morago ke Afrika borwa re tshwantse re age. And when I look out here today, I believe Helen Suzman would be proud, because the people who are here are first and foremost South Africans, but equally so, they are South Africans from all walks of life. They are rich and they are poor, they are black and they are white, they are Indian and colored, they are Muslim and Christian, they are Jew, they are urban, they are rural, they are South Africans from all walks of life, and that can only happen in the DA. That's why the DA is the only future for the South Africa we dream of. Amandla! On staan vir al die mense. Ek moet net sê, hulle almal lyk baie mooi. Dis hoekom ek is baie trots op hulle. Is dit die waarheid? Is dit reg? Ek probeer net om my Afrikaans te verbeter. Dis nog nie suiwer, maar ons moet werk. Yabona funeka sizithethe zonke kaloku. Sibonise abantu bethu apha eMzantsi Afrika uba hayi noko sibamela bonke. Kaloku ndima apha andimi njengomntu othetha nje apha ndima ekhaya siyazani sibuya pha eEastern Cape eCofa imvaba singumaduna waseTsomo. Buwa. Rivina Puti Rona, we are proudly South Africans. And that is the DA I want to build. It should never be a DA that stands for this race or stands for these people. It must be a DA that stands for all South Africans. Amandla. That's why I believe Helen Suzman would have been so proud of you. And I believe without doubt, the vibrant diversity and just the sheer size of this movement towards change that she started to build and many others have built on. I pay great tribute to all our former leaders. They've done an incredible job for this organization. And in this party, when we build on, we reflect back so that we know, many came into leadership and said, what can I take this cause to the next step? And they'll hand over the baton to the next generation. And I think she would congratulate you and the tens and thousands of activists who power our movement here in Gauteng for an incredible achievement in the last year's elections. Your hard work helped us win an outright majority in Midvaal. Your sacrifice and commitment helped us bring the ANC below 50% in Ekurhuleni and Mogale.
Your hard work helped us from a government in the city of Johannesburg and become the biggest party in the city of Tshwane in coalition-led governments with partners from all other parties. On their own, each of these achievements are remarkable. But together, they represent something really significant in this province. And I want to say to you up front, thanks to your hard work, we now have the inside lane here in Gauteng. Helen would have been heartened by the progress you have made as a party compared to those early days where she was the only voice in parliament speaking out against injustice and apartheid. We have come a long, long way since then. She would have been encouraged by the DA, but to be honest, I think she would have also been saddened by the state of our nation. She would have been dismayed at the sheer hopelessness faced by so many South Africans who still struggle to get by with no money and no work. She would have been angered by the sheer scale of the theft and waste that this government is taking while our people are suffering. The South Africa of today, where more than half of our people, Democrats, more than half of our people live in poverty, and over 9.4 million South Africans cannot find work. This is not the country she fought for. This is not the country we were promised in '94. And it's certainly not the country we should be celebrating today. We can't live in a country of two halves, where there are those who have and others have nothing. Where there are those who enjoy the benefits of freedom and others don't. Whereas Chanua Achebe laments, a hungry person cannot claim freedom. We have become a nation where if you go to a rural community, you would swear you've entered a different country in contrast to that of an urban nation. We've become a nation that is fast becoming divided on the basis of race between black and white. These divisions have become skewed in our nation, and sadly they've been in existence for decades, and with each successive regime has sought to represent one race over another. Democrats, I recall the words of Utatu Nelson Mandela when he said he will oppose any form of domination, whether it's by black or white. And today the South Africa we must build is where in fact we must see a prosperous nation for all, where the rights of individuals are protected. And so when we speak about a new beginning, it ought to be a new beginning for all South Africans. Enough is enough. We must, Democrats, fight against the profound divisions that exist between class, between gender, between races. Whether those are exacerbated by economy, Democrats, this is not the South Africa we must envision. Life is too hard for too many people. And that's why when I look at the DA, I realize that if the DA does not succeed, South Africa will not succeed. We have a battle on our hands to ensure that we advance the cause of freedom. That is why we call it a new beginning. Because we can't just keep replacing one racial elite for another. We ought to bring a new beginning where one day all South Africans can say we cherish and enjoy the ideals of freedom. And where we govern, we must govern in such a way that all citizens know that we stand for them, we fight for them, and it's a South Africa that they will enjoy the benefits of freedom. We must be the hope for all South Africans. And perhaps, to quote another president, we are the ones we have been waiting for. we should never be saying to ourselves, we must continue as though things are normal, when our democracy has been stolen by a corrupt clique who have captured the state. But we must be indeed, as much as we are angered by corruption, angered by state capture, we must be angered by the fact that too many of our citizens are living in absolute poverty. We must be angered by the conditions of too many South Africans. It can't be business as usual, Democrats, when desperate mothers have to boil weeds to feed their children. And in fact, modi rubbish pinning, and we must say life is normal in South Africa. It can't be business as normal. We must be angry when 4 children are dying every day because of malnutrition, but we want to bail out SAA. It can't be business as usual when children go to school hungry, arrive there and there are no teachers, and leave to go home when they have not been taught a single thing for that day. It can't be business as usual when the relief offered by social grants granted to 17 million South Africans, often the only thing that shields millions of these South Africans from hunger, is threatened by sheer incompetence. It can't be business as usual, Democrats, when our government that is directly responsible for the deaths of 143 psychiatric patients in this province and 34 minors who got gunned down in Gauteng. It can't see in the northwest in Marikana. It can't be business as usual. It can't be business as usual when the red carpet is being rolled out for those who come to plunder our country and export resources elsewhere, whilst ordinary South Africans are left to fend for themselves. Okare, we've become a state sesibulandi khoro for the tsotsi, but it means that the Gupta give it tsotsi. Kaumen kalaman zapa. We need change, Democrats. We need a new beginning. Diabule. When our country still left, when our country left the brutality of apartheid behind, and it took its first stages towards democracy, its first steps, South Africans were promised a better life. They were promised a chance to take control of their own lives through quality education, through access to economic opportunities, through ownership of property. They were promised economic freedom and independence. But for millions of our citizens, this has never materialized. Yes, many communities have improved. And yes, like many liberators, South Africans have a form of freedom. But you know, what remains true is that at first we must be liberated, and then we must liberate ourselves from the liberators. That's what Zimbabweans are learning, and that's what here in South Africa we must make clear. Whilst even communities have been uplifted, the job is far from done, and too many people still don't have homes, still don't have electricity, still don't have enough water. But what community, how can we say that is dignity? Freedom must be advanced further, and I want to say this to you: it's not going to be advanced by Baba Kopananga December. It's going to be advanced by this party, by this movement, the Democratic Alliance. Amandla! Away to And I want to say to you, make no mistake, I am truly grateful for freedom. And I know you are. But I want to say this. It can't remain where the rich become richer and the poor remain stuck in hardships and despair. This is not the South Africa we were promised. And in fact, it would seem as though our divided worlds are getting wider and wider. We have to bring a new beginning. It is certainly not the South Africa Madiba dreamt of. It is certainly not South Africa that Helen Suzman fought for. We need to bring a new promise, a new hope, a new beginning. We were promised much more and could have been so much further. But instead, I think for too many of our people, they know instinctively we are going in the wrong direction. $30 million of our South Africans live below what is known as the upper poverty line. 1 in 7 South Africans face extreme food poverty. Our expanded unemployment level now sits at 36%. And the reason the situation is getting worse is because our economy is paralyzed, Democrats. We have no growth, no real prospects for improvement. We are dipping in and out of recession, and we've been downgraded to junk status, and our national debt is growing. Let me say this, forget who is going to win in December. Hey, Batu. Forget Batu Bao. Nothing that happens there will make a difference. They are united by smaller skeletons. We must fight for change, Democrats. Amandla. How can an organization that is focused on the past be an organization that steers us towards the future? If you look at the rear view mirror for too long, that is where you will end up. That is why the DA must become a party for the future, focused on tomorrow, a South Africa for all. Amandla. We must focus on building an economy that includes more South Africa. Let me warn you, Democrats, if Eskom defaults on its spiraling debt and the captured Malusi Gigaba makes a decision to bail them out, South Africa will almost without doubt be further downgraded, which will mean a crisis for those South Africans who are already in a deep crisis. Captured Gigaba said in his budget speech recently, he said he confirmed what we already knew. We are running out of money and our people are becoming poorer and our government has no plan to get us out. This is where we must come in. And while too many of us may feel the pinch, it is the most vulnerable in our society who will feel it the hardest. It is the poor South Africans. Poor South Africans who, as the face of poverty is in the majority black, it will be those South Africans who will feel it tougher and tougher every day. South Africans are not poor because of their race. They are poor because the apartheid system put them in rural communities where they had no opportunities, and not only gave them a bad education, it miseducated too many of our people. So therefore today, they remain poor because of a corrupt system designed to look after the elite at the expense of the poor and keeping them in absolute poverty. Their system pockets the enormous amount of money and tax money that was meant to be spent on these South Africans. This system produces jobs only for the ones at the top, and in fact leaves those who are at the bottom left behind. It ensures that there's concentration of resources on a few hands, in a few SOEs, in a few particular people, rather than on the rest of South Africa. And this system is kept alive by shielding dishonest and law-breaking criminals from abiding with the law. Our our people are left behind, feeling powerless, while the fat cats get away with it. Fellow Democrats, South Africa desperately needs a new beginning that will remove this corrupt system completely. That is why there can be no hope from within the other side. We must be the hope that brings that new beginning. And therefore, Democrats, two and a half years ago, in my first speech as leader of the DA, I said that it would be our values that carry us towards a prosperous future. I said that our values will be the ones that carry South Africa and guide us to victory. And I want to repeat that here today, because there's never been more true. Our values contain the blueprint for the future of our country. Let me say this: the DA is not a party of nationalists. We don't mobilize on votes, and we don't ask people to vote along divisions of race, of language, of culture. Not internally, and it's certainly not going to happen externally. We don't seek in each other the one thing that divides and then set out to create narratives that puts us, it says us versus them. We are a party of liberals, and we believe in the strength of our diversity. We believe that it is this diversity that brings more ideas to the table. It's a diversity where we can't elect people who will only lead people who look like them. We must elect a leadership that must and will focus on a future for all South Africans. That is the job here. Can I ask for John and Caleb Kachalia to come up here on stage while I'm here?
Hoi hoi, Busi Maimane, hoi hoi.
I want to say this.
Viva Busi Maimane, viva!
I'm standing I want to say this. This Congress has been hard. It's been fought on many fronts, but there can only be one winner today, and that winner must be the DA, and whoever you vote for will lead us with those values, taking South Africa forward. Let me say this to you. There are no camps in the DA. There are no members of Caleb or members of John. There are only members of the DA, and the DA will go forward. Amandla!
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bua Musi Bua!
I want to wish both of you well. I want to wish both of them well. Because debates inside the DA must be hard. They must be robust. Because we believe in internal democracy. We don't believe you must make a way for your wife to take over. They take notes from each other. They want to open asylum for each other. I am saying if we open asylum for Robert Mugabe to come here, we will soon have to open asylum for Jacob Zuma to go there, because Tsotia Trangong, Amandla. That's why I say if you don't stand for democracy internally, you are not going to stand for democracy externally. That is why when Robert Mugabe, who was once a liberator, now turned dictator against his people, we can't give him asylum in South Africa, because we can't open doors for dictators to come here in South Africa. Amandla. But I want to say this to you: we will challenge each other, and we must learn from each other. And whoever you elect out of this Congress, there will only be one leader for Gauteng, and you may not have voted for that leader, but at the end of the day, as a true Democrat, you must accept the results and get behind that leader and get on the streets and fight for a South Africa for all. You see, if we undermine that very principle, it's the very thing that unites us. But Democrats, I want to say this: no matter how diverse our background is, we must agree upon the following fundamentals which will rebuild our country. We must agree that we must build a society. We cannot function unless we are grounded in the Constitution and in the rule of law. We must agree that only a market-based economy can create the necessary conditions for an inclusive economy that brings growth and jobs. We must ensure, fellow Democrats, that we build an economy that is deconcentrated and demonopolized. At the very point that we must ensure, Democrats, that why Prasa at the top? Why can't cities be running trains and be running, in fact, ports? Because there we open opportunities for small businesses to come on board. We must demonopolize our economy by fighting for new entrants. Why do we only have such a few mining companies, a few banks? We need more, because more South Africans must participate in our economy, and the DA is the only party that can open the way to come on board. You see, when we deconcentrate our economy and allow the cities who are capable to take a lead, we can ensure that small businesses find entry into that economy by breaking down barriers to entry. I want to say this: we don't need a state bank. We need more banks so that poor people are finding a place. To start their businesses. We are going, Democrats, to fight for new entrants across all sectors. We've only got a few mining companies, we need more. We've only got a few businesses, we need more. And those businesses be owned by South Africans. We must focus on the future of the country, because as technology is coming on board, too many of our young people will be left behind. And we've got to prepare a young person for a future that is coming. I listened carefully to Bongani Baloyi when he says, lead, young people lead. And I want to say this to you: let us allow young people to have technology that empowers them to enter into the fourth industrial revolution. We must agree that we must build a united, peaceful society where true non-racialism is a non-negotiable. We all agree that a capable, fit-for-purpose state can deliver on its mandate for our people. That's why when I look at our governments, I want to say to Herman Mashaba, to Solim Simanga, to Bongani Baloyi, we are not here to hire friends. We are here to hire the most capable people for the job of government so they can deliver for us. And I want to say this to you: if we all agree that we have to move forward, if we're going to move our country forward, we must adopt a zero tolerance for corruption. These are the values that have brought us together here in the Democratic Alliance. And it is these values that will ultimately unite millions of South Africans who want to build a strong, prosperous, and an inclusive nation. It is these values that will offer South Africa a new beginning. But fellow Democrats, not everyone sees the world as we'd like to see it. Over the next 18 months, you will have to work hard to ensure that we bring a South Africa for all, but others will be working hard to drive a wedge between races and between communities, hoping that this, in fact, can chisel off the chunks of votes for their parties. They will blame and they will scapegoat. They will will create enemies to advance their cause. This is how racial nationalism works. For them to succeed, there must be an us versus them. We won't play that game because our country, we need hope, and for that hope to thrive, we need everybody to be on the same side, whether you are black, whether you are white, whether you are Indian, whether you are colored. And that is why I believe our values will guide us to victory. Democrats, the only way we will bring about change in this country is if in fact we convince millions of South Africans that we stand on their side and that we speak for them. And until we do that, all our best intentions will be in vain. So if we want to bring people over to our side, if we want to convince them that we will one day govern for their best interests, then we have to be honest with them about who we are and what we stand for. And this brings me back to the vision of Helen Suzman. What drove her all those years is to fight on behalf of those who are not yet free. This must be the driving force in the DA of today. Each single person in this room, in that DA, must ask themselves every single day, on whose behalf are you fighting? Are you fighting on your own behalf? Or are you fighting on behalf of the South Africans who today still don't enjoy material freedoms and who are still oppressed by a system that leaves them behind? Back when Helen Suzman fought for the rights of political prisoners, I remember I recently went to Robben Island and I was impressed by how when she came there, she fought for those who were detained without trial. She fought for those who were not like her. She was a woman fighting for men who were of a different race, of a different religion to her, yet she stood for them. And I believe the DA of today must be inspired by those values and fight for those who are not like us, who stand still not enjoying the freedoms of our country. Democrats, today there are millions more who are still not enjoying freedom. They may not be imprisoned in a prison cell, but the circumstances that keep them trapped and oppressed are no less real. Our jobs and our responsibility is to fight for them until they are also free. This is the party that we are. If this is not your goal, if this is not what you are committed for fighting for, I must assume that you are here to fight for yourself and your own interests and your own objectives. And if that is true, you are in the wrong party. Go join another one where people serve themselves. We cannot allow our goals to be diffused and our people to be captured. That is the most important lesson we can learn from my opponent's implosion. The ANC government failed because they did not grasp the principle. Their fight was only for the elite, for the president, and for the inner circles, the tenderpreneurs, and those who are connected cronies. This is not the South Africa we want. In their South Africa, there's only one life for the wealthy and another one for the poor. The DA can never be that. We must be the party that in fact welcomes all, that governs for all, and in fact fights for all South Africans. We can't be a party that dispenses patronage in exchange for support. If this is your intention, I want to make it crystal clear. You are in the wrong party. We can never be a party where leaders represent certain groups or certain interests above others. If you think that's what you must stand for, you represent a narrow minority somewhere, somehow, you are in the wrong party. Please go join another party. I want to say this to you. If we are not a party that will harbor any racists, whether they are black, whether they are white, we will not tolerate racism in any form. And if you are thinking of voting for the DA and you are racist and you want to, hey, go vote for another party. Fellow Democrats, I condemn racism, whether it's by black people or white people. We must condemn it. And let me say this. Recently, as a South African, I watched, whether it was on social media or television, where too many people were waving the old South African flag. That flag reminds us of a painful history that divided us. I want to say this to you, that it is not in the interests of South Africa or the advancement of a reconciled South Africa that we must go around in public places and wave that flag. It undermines our goals and it sets us looking backwards. I want to build a country where South Africans are united behind this new flag, this South African flag, a future for all South Africans, a non-racial South Africa. So if you want to wave the old flag, vote for another party. We want to stand together here, united for the South Africa for all. Amandla! And therefore, South Africans, our opponents like to say that we are not a party for all South Africans. They cannot be trusted back. Let me tell you, you are saying that because you are very worried. What they are failing to recognize is the fact that the DA is the most diverse party in South Africa. In fact, the majority of the people who vote for us are black South Africans. In fact, 8 of the 9 provincial leaders are black South Africans. And I'm not saying that because I'm classifying people. I'm saying that because we represent one race. The mayors are diverse, the leaders are diverse, the voters are diverse. South Africa is for diverse people. Amandla! Batugi! They know. I want to say this to Jacob Zuma and the ANC. You've only got 18 more months of being in government. When the DA comes, we are bringing change to South Africa. We are here to bring a new beginning for all South Africans. Therefore, Democrats, I want to say this to you. We must break from this corrupt and oppressed system. I'm going to ask you now to stand to your feet. So, they know that the majority of South Africans from all backgrounds are coming here. They know that we are bringing change. They know they can't avoid this DA party from taking South Africa. They know, in fact, that's why if I was them, I would be very worried. Maskubeg, I want you to stand together knowing we are going to govern in such a way that we deliver for all South Africans. I want to say to Mayor Herman Mashaba, continue to fight and defend the infrastructure backlog that is here in the city of Johannesburg. I'm calling on you to ensure that we build an economy in South Africa that is infrastructure driven. I want to say to all of us, we've got to make sure that we use our tax system to stimulate manufacturing so that more jobs can be created. I want to say to Mayor Msimanga, Mtate usatsenye reverse gear from fighting against those corrupt people. Continue to stand up against corruption. Make sure that the money that is put in this city is deployed for the purposes of the people in South Africa. Amandla. I want to say to the mayor of Midvaal, Don't stop fighting for young people. That's why we must have a year's program where young people nationally can have internship, where they can learn skills, apply their skills, and make sure that they can work and have the decency of work. Let us continue to pilot a program where young people can get on our public transport system to go seek work. This is the South Africa we must build. But I want to say to all of you who are sitting here today, 2019 is not going to win itself. We are going to have to go door to door. We are going to have to go house to house and communicate a message of a new beginning for all, a South Africa for all. And that is why when we stand together, we know that we must fight for those who are not enjoying the freedoms that some in South Africa are enjoying. We are the hope for South Africa, and only the united DA, a diverse DA, will take South Africa forward. Africa. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our beautiful land. Forward, DA, forward, Amandla! Amandla! And I want to say this to you. They must know what will come out of this conference is a leadership that will work day in, day night to ensure that we win here in Gauteng and govern this province in a way that delivers prosperity for our people. Election 2019 is going. After this Congress, and I'm saying, let us continue the change. Let us govern for the 16 million people. Ndiabulela, Enkosi, Kialeboha, forward South Africa, forward.
All right, a very interesting provincial DA Gauteng elective conference there, and we've just seen on the podium DA leader there, Maimane, addressing the members there. He spoke about a few things there. Mugabe, of course, as we know, he's been asked to seek political asylum here in South Africa, but of course, Maimane seems to think that Mugabe is a dictator who should not be allowed in South Africa, as of course, if we allow Mugabe to come to South Africa, will definitely be allowing, we should be making way for President Jacob Zuma to be moving over to that side in Zimbabwe. He also said the ANC is a party of crooks, so regardless of whoever wins during the upcoming elective conference in December, they must just know, the people must just know that it's a party of crooks. They must vote for the people, the party that cares about the advancements of people's, of course, initiatives, and of course the wealth, the economic wealth, and of course also the equality across all margins in the country. He did say the elective conference won't make a difference, and of course, as I've just mentioned there, that the leaders within the ANC are all corrupt. Let's interrupt that right now and cross over